Unfortunately, it's gone up.
Blimey.
That wasn't expected
in a word,
at all.
That's the only family-friendly word I can use. Blimey. Inflation was 3.9 during the year to November. I think the political class, particularly on the Tory benches, was desperate for another fall in inflation. So the Tory party could say, things are getting better, the economic feel-good factor's coming back. Let's let the economy develop throughout the year so we can have an election in autumn. Isabel, the inflation number in December went up.
How can
to
this possibly
4%.
be? What's
That
happened?
is twice the Bank of England's target now. I'm going to have to delve into the economic undergrowth. I'm just seeing the headline now. I imagine it's partly due to higher freight costs. I think it's partly due to the fact that we had that kind of geopolitical angst beginning in mid-December. You had a tax on shipping in the Red Sea in mid-December. That will have increased transport costs. But this is...
Well, no one saw it coming. I mean, all the forecasters were saying 3.8% today, and there were going to be criticisms that it wasn't coming down more quickly. And here it is going up. I just think the Treasury and indeed the Prime Minister will be tearing their hair out this morning.
And I think the opposition will make hay out of this. The cost of living crisis has eased significantly. In the back end of 2022, we had 11% inflation, a 40-year high. It's well down from then. But we have a narrative, a political narrative, an economic narrative that inflation is coming down steadily, interest rates are coming down steadily, borrowing costs, mortgage rates are coming down steadily. That narrative has now been seriously challenged by this bombshell number.
Just give me these figures again. It went from 3.9 to...
4. 3.9%.
Sorry, I know you're getting your knickers in a twist here. That is 0.1% increase. That's nothing.
Eamon, the Tory party's whole strategy, the financial markets' whole view of this country was that inflation was coming down steadily towards the Bank of England's target 2%, maybe by the middle of this year. And because of that, interest rates could keep falling. Mortgage costs have already been falling in anticipation of that continued fall in inflation, that continued easing of the cost of living.
So what does that mean for those?
The fact that there's been an increase in December, and since December, in January, of course, we've had more attacks on shipping in the Red Sea, in the Straits of Hormuz, more increases in freight costs. That suggests that financial markets will now think, is inflation really going to keep falling steadily? It is a blip, but that it's such a challenge to the narrative that it will start making people doubt. The mortgage companies will start doubting now, are we right to keep lowering mortgage rates, or should we start pulling them up again? So that is why this is such an outlier number, and that is why it will be, as Isabel rightly says, I think, a real headache for the Prime Minister.
I think if I could use my powers of prediction, I can just imagine that we'll have a clip of the Chancellor later on today saying, can be lumpy, coming down, there's bumps in the road, nobody panic.
And he's right.
But are other countries seeing an increase in inflation at this stage?
The US did see an increase in inflation, a tiny increase in inflation in the autumn, yes. History doesn't happen in a straight line. Eamon's right about that. It's just at a time when you've got this political turmoil going on, at a time when senior politicians are openly challenging the leadership now of the Prime Minister, even though we could be just months away from a general election, the fact that the economic story is also proving to be difficult for Downing Street, which is something they thought they had in the bag, an improving economy, that is going to heighten political tensions, and it's also going to make a lot of businesses feel, are we really on a trajectory to definite economic improvement?
OK, well, that's the economic story, Liam, and thank you very much indeed for that. And I know you're going to delve into the detail there and talk to us throughout the programme.